There are a handful of games that I wish I could experience for the first time again. Games that got me completely invested from the second I started playing them. One of the first games to have this effect on me is Super Mario 64. It's easy to overlook just how magical playing this game for the first time as a kid is. Discovering new areas, finding secrets hidden across the entire castle, occasionally pissing your pants at some points. Let's get one thing clear. I don't think Mario 64 itself is a creepy game. Unlike some of you, I'm a man, and the only part that genuinely scared me as a kid playing this game was the infinite stairway. However, there are some areas in the game that do feel really lonely and at some points even scary. Now, when you take the basic Mario 64 formula and crank everything up to 100, you get B3313, one of the most unique experiences that I've played in a good while. Some things to clear up right off the bat. I wouldn't call B3313 a horror game, nor an ARG, not even a creepypasta. If you're expecting to be bombarded by jump scares every 10 seconds, or to suddenly have the game's textures have overlaid PNGs of blood on top of them, you're in for a disappointment. This ROM hack offers so much more than that, to the point where finishing it actually seems impossible. Some of its parts are ripped straight from Super Mario 64 Classified, a YouTube horror series made by Greenio, but for the sake of this video, I'm gonna be looking at B3313 as its own standalone thing. To play this, I'm using the Parallel launcher. I found it to be the best way to play considering I haven't had any problems with lag while playing, and it also has a list of all the stars you can collect. Trust me, we'll be needing this later. Oh, and one more thing. If at any point in the video after this I say the words uncanny or liminal, I want you to unsubscribe and report my channel to the local authorities. Now let's get started. Loading into the game, we are immediately thrown in front of the castle. There's no Peach voicing over her letter, no Lakitu brothers. A text box informs us that this is Mario Wonderland and we can start exploring like normal. Immediately we can notice that the HUD is different from the normal version of the game and that Mario's moveset has been altered. The third jump is replaced by a slow descending spin, he can't crawl, and most important of all, he can't long jump. Along with all of this, his voice lines are all from the beta version of the actual Mario 64 and... yeah, I'm glad that they scrapped every single one of these. After entering the castle, we realize that much like Mario's voice lines, it comes from the game's beta. There's no Toad in the lobby with us, and no snarky remarks from Bowser. We're just told that this castle is exclusive to the show. Whatever the fuck that means. We can enter through the door where Bob-omb Battlefield would usually be, but instead the level we enter is Cool Cool Mountain. The beta version of it at least. We can collect some stars and that's about it. So far everything we've seen seems fairly normal. This is just a pretty faithful recreation of Mario 64 beta content. After collecting 10 power stars, we can look up into the ceiling of the castle lobby and... wait a minute, this isn't the wing cap level. We find ourselves on a star-shaped island in the sky. After collecting 5 silver stars, a big one appears, and if I wasn't an idiot here, I would have collected it. But instead, I just ran off the island like a moron. No biggie, right? I'll just return to the main lobby and try again. Wait, what? We're thrown into this completely foreign castle lobby, with a surplus of doors, each one leading to a completely different area. The one I went through first led me to this massive back courtyard which was populated by Goombas and had a single doorway at the end. The doorway led to a black void with a single star. I collected it and came out of a Bob-omb Battlefield painting in what seemed to be the vanilla castle lobby from the Mario 64 we all know and love. I tried going to Peach's secret slide, but instead walked through another door that led to a hallway where I died to a trap and got sent straight back to the weird castle lobby. So, what the hell just happened? At this point you realize that this game is not what it seems. At first it seemed like an innocent enough ROM hack featuring old beta content, but what's with all these weird warps? No game designer would connect areas like this. Sure, Mario 64 has secrets, but this all seems too complex to be just a simple one-off secret or Easter egg. What is going on here? If we take some time to mess around in front of the castle instead of going straight into it, we realize that there's an entirely new back area, complete with a golden toad statue and even Yoshi. Talking to him at first reveals nothing out of the ordinary, but then he mentions switching plumbers and... what? L has been real all along. Yoshi also gives us a warning about the cave next to him. So does this sign that turns around to face us for some reason, but of course we ignore both of them and go inside the cave. After arriving to this void area, we're met by yet another sign that seems to be talking to someone specific, even being aware that this is a game, much like how Yoshi speaks at the end of the vanilla version. Good to see you again, old friend. I see you're escaping reality again, trying to find gold inside bricks. Are you feeling okay? You know you can always turn off the game, but both of us know that you're still trapped inside your own walls, aren't you? Apart from this, the cave area doesn't give us any substantial information on anything else really, so we're forced to move on. What Yoshi said in front of the cave, however, is pretty good advice on how to play this game. Let it happen like a dream. This is not a game that's meant to be played stage by stage. Just pick a direction you want to go and see where it leads you. Sure enough, using this method, I discovered several new levels which I've never seen before. After a while I beat Bowser and the star's red for some reason. After doing some more exploring, I used the ground pound on the floor of the vanilla lobby and got transported to this hallway with the only sound to accompany me being the howling wind. Suddenly text started flashing in the middle of the screen saying, "Get out," after which I was chased by textureless Marios. If they touch you, it's an insta-kill, which happened on my first attempt at beating this area. You can actually escape these entities, and if you do, you're rewarded with yet another red star, finally expanding Mario's moveset, making you able to once again perform long jumps. Looking at the list of stars I previously mentioned, we can see that there's a total of 13 red stars which we can collect. It's just that finding them in all of this will be extremely difficult. That being said, we have no information regarding the textureless Marios that tried killing us. They haven't appeared anywhere else other than guarding the red star in this kinda obscure area. The only thing we can tell so far is that they're extremely hostile towards us. It's around this point in the playthrough that you kinda come to accept the nonsensical layouts of the castle and its levels. However, there are still some moments that make you go, wait, what? Like for example when you walk through the same door twice and end up at a completely different area than the one you just came from. Going into a bit more detail about the levels themselves, sure some of them are the beta versions of the stages we know, but there are also completely new levels that look like they'd fit right in with the others from the base game, and then there are the stages that just look completely out of place. I'm mostly referring to the levels that just have jumbled assets thrown together seemingly at random. Sure, you also have the test stages, but even those are easier to understand than some of the ones you may encounter. A lot of people describe the game as dreamlike, which is a pretty accurate description, but personally I prefer to describe it as AI generated. Like, yeah, this looks like a Mario 64 level at first glance, but the more you look at it, the more you begin to notice slight imperfections and elements that just shouldn't even be there in the first place. It also doesn't help that whenever you die at some stages, instead of being put right in front of the level's entrance again, you're sent back into the weird castle lobby. So unless you somehow memorized how to get back to that specific stage, have fun finding the way back. Someone did make a map of the entire game, but honestly, be real with me. Can you even remotely orient yourself here? How is the map supposed to help me when I don't even know the names of any of these areas? Tangent aside, the entire hub world feels more like a giant area with tinier hub worlds that are mazes, but those mazes also lead to other mazes, and you see what I'm getting at here. I have just a bit more than 12 hours of footage and finished my playthrough with 135 stars, but I'm not sure if that's even half of what the game has to offer. There's so many areas that just change your entire surrounding after a single jump, and said changes will also have more secret warps within them. Something I appreciate is how the warps and doors aren't random. They will always lead you to the same areas no matter how many times you go through them, for the most part. After a while I started understanding the layouts of some rooms and even got pretty good at going to where I wanted to be. What I haven't mentioned until now is that the first lobby we entered when we started this journey, the beta lobby, actually has 3 different versions of it, and you can cycle through them using the fast travel option after pressing A while you're in the pause menu. I only noticed this when I realized that the numbers on the doors to levels were different from what I remembered them being when I first started playing.
Hello, Ed boys! Many doors yet?
It's little things like this that make you question your own memory and keep you on edge while playing. In this area the music suddenly cuts off and I expected something to start chasing me, but it never came. There are parts that completely envelop your entire view in darkness with an ominous timer counting up. You scramble to somehow escape, but then you just die. There's no enemy that kills you, no spooky ghosts, just death. These moments are what fill you with dread, knowing that at any point the happy atmosphere of areas can do a complete 180 and just start being hostile towards you. Speaking of the atmosphere, the music truly elevates this entire experience. It's mostly all remixes of pre-existing Mario songs, but some of them are just so good that I couldn't help but jam out while playing the game. Some other things that are worth noting is that certain rooms can become corrupted beyond belief. The music gets awful to listen to, and all the textures just look like they've been vomited on. I've also had this thing happen to me where only the painting textures would start getting misplaced in some areas, for, again, apparently no reason. The game is constantly changing, the HUD, the enemies. Unless you're not paying attention, these things can easily fly over your head. Here's the thing about the game's progression. All of the regular stars don't really matter. The game doesn't care if you see everything. The only stars that matter for progressing are the red ones that I've previously mentioned. I accidentally stumbled across the end game area and found this red star door that I couldn't enter because up to this point I've only collected a handful of them. So let's get exploring. The thing about the red stars is that some of them are extremely obscure to find. One that actually pissed me off was in the Toad Catacombs, which can only be accessed after trying to go into this pipe, which makes the entire sewer area you were in pitch black and flooding it. You then have a minute to find a way out. If you don't want the solution, skip the video for like 10 seconds. So the way you escape is going through the fucking wall that was behind the pipe. That's amazing. Who would have thought of that? So anyway, at the Toad Catacombs, this toad informs us that all of these coffins are presumably filled with dead toads. Who would have guessed? We jump on the coffins and then finally collect the star. Two of the red stars are guarded by the faceless Marios and this other entity, which is called the Shadow. Considering the only times we see both of these entities attack us is when we're close to getting the red stars, it's almost as if they don't want us to collect them. They're clearly not Bowser's minions, they aren't enemies that are supposed to be obstacles. The fact that they both look like an altered Mario model and one-shot you means that there is something else entirely, something that transcends the game's logic. An even more interesting thing regarding the Shadow is that the entrance to the level where you're hunted down by it is placed in this broken down, corrupted area of the castle. This place can't even be described as unfinished, it's just geometry that's thrown seemingly at random. Oh, and also I could be completely wrong about this, but I think this level is a reference to Slender Man. Anyway, after collecting all 13 of the red stars, we can enter the final level of the game, a mishmash of enemies and structures from every level that we've seen. Entering a warp pipe at the end, we go through one final gauntlet before reaching Bowser. He only has 2 attacks. He breathes fire into the air that falls down onto the arena, and he can jump and release shockwaves. He teleports to get closer to you, which makes it harder to grab his tail. Meanwhile, you're also being shot at by bullet bills that appear in the arena. Throwing him into the bombs 3 times defeats Bowser, but without Mario saying,
"So long, Bowser!"
So what's even the point? We get the Grand Star and watch the game's ending cutscene. Except, it's not really the end. We're thrown in front of the castle again, only with this time fog surrounding us. Somehow this still looks better than the Silent Hill 2 remake. There's only one way to follow, and after going through yet another jumbled area, we reach Dream World, which is 4 challenge levels that you can play in any order. And that's the ending. I know, it's anticlimactic, but shut up for a second. I don't actually believe that this is the real ending of the game. It's more of a facade for the true ending, at least for what I personally believe to be the true ending of the hack. There are many theories and explanations of B3313. but the overall plot of it is mostly left up to interpretation. And with MatPat quitting game theory soon, allow me to indulge myself and take his place for just a little bit and give you my own understanding of the story of the hack. It's not that prevalent, but there is some sort of narrative that the game is trying to tell us. Stop me if you heard this one before. Every copy of Super Mario 64 is personalized. This is one of the core things that this hack is based on. In fact, as far as I'm aware, the painting textures being messed up and the enemies changing color that I've previously mentioned are both in some way tied to this personalization AI. That being said, it's obvious that there is something that's in control of the entire world, something that's making an infinite amount of stages, some that are good, and others that show us that the AI isn't that perfect. I don't even think any of the NPCs that we meet are aware of the AI. In their eyes, the castle is actually endless, so Bowser and his minions are just trying to conquer as much as they can, like they do in a typical Mario game. The AI is constantly adding more content to the game, to the point of it actually starting to overwork itself and feeling pain. Throughout your journey, you can see the flashing text on your screen multiple times, and more often than not, the places where the text appears are also the spots where you see textureless Mario in the shadow. So we can come to the conclusion that the AI and these two entities are basically the same thing. One of the areas where we see a drowning Luigi is accompanied with flashing text saying, "It hurts." From what I've seen, people associate this with Luigi actually dying. But you can play as Luigi, so I don't think that theory holds up. I think that the AI is describing the pain it feels by comparing it with drowning. Like I previously mentioned, textureless Mario and the Shadow try to stop you from collecting red stars. They stop you from progressing, meaning the AI can stop generating more content for you. There's a hub area in which you can read the text saying, "Find the core," once again supposedly said by the AI itself. And we can assume the core is, well, the AI core. There's a couple of them in the game, but either way, whenever you get close to one, text flashes on the screen saying, "Destroy it," and doing so crashes the game. This is what I believe to be the true ending. By destroying the core, you stopped any more of the game to be generated. You killed the AI and finally let it rest. But you can boot the game back up again, and doing this, there's nothing that's changed. Everything is still the same as you left it. By opening the game again, you brought life back into the AI, making it suffer again. This is what the sign in the cave behind the castle was referring to. It was talking to us, the player.
God, I'm so fucking, my brain right now is like, I'm inside this guy.
And reading it again with that in mind, it feels a lot more personal. A good parallel to draw to this story would be Undertale. In that game, the player is the one who resets the timeline after every playthrough, constantly taking away the happy endings of all the characters. Meanwhile, Flowey speaks directly to the player. He knows what's going on, and after getting the true pacifist ending, even begs you to not make the cycle repeat. In the same way, it's us that are hurting the AI over and over again, only truly beating the game when we finally stop playing it. Like I said, I was looking at this project separate from any of the other Mario 64 creepypastas or series. So if I missed something that's revealed in the Greenio Mario series, cut me some slack because I didn't watch it. Either way, I'd love to hear your thoughts and theories either in the comments or in my Discord server, but I think that my interpretation of the story is pretty solid for the most part. Or maybe the game really is haunted by the Wario apparition. What the hell do I know? I'm just the guy that makes Kid with Rule 34 jokes on YouTube. Thanks for watching this video. If you wanna, like and subscribe. If not, then Mario's gonna stay trapped in the infinite castle forever. Follow me on social media, there's a link to my Discord server in the description below, and a special thank you to all of my patrons over on my Patreon, with a special thank you to ItsSeanIGuess. Speaking of which, I'm gonna start using Patreon more actively now, so patrons get to see the progress of new videos in the super secret Patreon Discord channel over on the server. And yeah, that's about it. Bye bye.